Mostly women are leaving marriages and not men. Mostly women. At college level, it's almost all women. Then men are the exception because women are initiating 90% of the time. And then if we break those stats down along religiosity, we might come up with some different numbers. But yes, it's mostly women breaking up the home. And
How
yes,
do you know that's not men's fault?
well, because we can ask these women why the divorce happened. And we can look at court documents for the reasons that they put for the divorce.
Women want men to care that women are upset. But women don't care when you, the specific man, care that she's upset. And that's the disconnect between women and men that our sheltered, entitled women's liberation movement has created.
I don't want to make a mistake of getting in something too early because I'm scared I'm not going to find someone when I'm older.
That's
so
cool,
why
but
waste?
if you make the mistake early, you can still get out while you're still young. But if you're 26 and you make that same mistake, you don't have the same leverage and the same wiggle room to get
I
out.
also can't decide my life, so whatever happens, happens, and I can't
Manifest,
plan
girl.
my future. Whatever happens, happens. I can't decide what I want and who I want when I want. Life will happen when it happens.
She's living life on the edge.
I'm just living in the moment. Like, I'm not trying to plan for anything.
You go, queen. Don't plan.
It's funny, honestly. This type of disconnect is what led to the dissatisfaction that prompted the push for human rights.
The life cycle of the Gen Z Biden voter. Vote for Joe Biden, go cripplingly into student debt, realize you can never repay that debt, and get a sugar daddy. Go.
We're gonna rip the band-aid off. We're gonna check our student loan debt. And I, kind of at a ballpark range, like I knew how much I owed, not down to like the exact dollar amount. I'm the type of person who gets nervous to check their bank account after a weekend out. So I took a look, I took a hard gander at exactly how much money I owe. I'm gonna die with it. Like I can confidently say there wasn't even like a panic, it was just like my heart sank to my ass. I'm gonna die with it. Like I don't know any way I'm gonna be able to pay that off, other than selling my organs on the black market. This is why I don't understand why people shit on sugar babies, because like I could get this all paid off tomorrow. Maybe not tomorrow, but you know what I mean, like within the year. If I just found a rich man and everyone's like, patriarchy, don't work for them. Ask not what you can do for the patriarchy, but what the patriarchy can do for you. If it benefits me, then maybe it's not the patriarchy, maybe it's just a helping hand.
The individual is the smallest minority. So, to care for the group, we must concern ourselves with the individual. But while those who built and maintained society learned that lesson, it seems the women never did. So now women get to learn it in the only battlefield they understand, the romantic one. But their causalities won't be soldiers. It'll be rows upon rows of quiet apartments filled with single women. Make no mistake, this is the ruling class getting a rude awakening. Ironically, this is the quality they want today.
What do you mean?
Don't leave. Women leave 70% of the time. If they're college educated, they leave 90% of the time.
Correct.
Women ruin relationships and they ruin families.
Women
so
leave.
Women typically do it.
Actually,
and so if a guy
if a man-
ask the majority of men, their first choice is not a baby mother.
Mama.
Just like our first choice typically is not a short broke guy.
That's right.
It's the same thing. It's the same thing. Now will we put up with a guy that's shorter if he's good looking? Sure. Will a guy put up with a single mother if she has some other things that she brings to the table? Maybe she's attractive, maybe she has other stuff, maybe she's submissive, whatever it is that he values. Yeah, but it's most men, it is not their first choice.
Truth be told, we need to find a way to shrink our worlds down a bit. Get back to local girls finding local guys. This concept of having an online catalog of prospective mates to browse through is just failing hard. It's such a strange turn our society has taken. Women went from being pursued by suitors and worrying about their reputation to browsing through a pocket computer for a sperm donor.
What are your unpopular opinions in the bedroom?
This one's super important and it technically counts. I've never turned a woman down when it comes to an advance to do the dirty and not had it go horribly. Where in the worst case scenarios, I was screamed at, I was called names, I was made fun of in front of my friends. One of them said that they were going to ruin my life somehow. And even in the best case scenarios with significant others, I would spend the rest of my night consoling them and reassuring them and comforting them as if I did something wrong by withdrawing consent. Where I feel like most women are just so not used to men saying no to that kind of thing that if they do, then it's just taken as a personal attack and it can't be anything else. And the thing is, when you do that, you end up with what happened to me, where you realize that no matter who the person is, best case scenario, worst case scenario, you just bite the bullet and go through the motions. And you're not giving men much incentive to express their own consent either.
When they first started reporting that college guys were fed up with hookup culture, and wanted a real relationship, that's when I knew something was out of whack. College guys should have been grinning from ear to ear with hookup culture, but the opposite happened. The guys figured out quickly that something was rotten. They managed to clear their heads enough to see that there was no way to build something substantial with a woman and have a family with the way things were going.
Find yourself a woman that wants to be a wife, not just a woman who wants a husband. Too many people are out here just wanting a husband. They don't necessarily want to be a wife. See, becoming a wife means something more than just being married. See, when I first got married, I wanted a wedding and a husband, but I had no freaking clue what it meant to actually be a wife. I didn't understand what it required of me. You see, to be a wife, you need to be selfless. You need to have lots of patience. You need to be willing to give life, and then all your attention and your love goes to your children. See, people forget that the spouse came first. Your husband came first. We have to continue to prioritize him and not just put him on the back burner. I think if more people understood that, marriages would be in a totally different place right now.
This is a great point. In this generation, most women are more interested on just the wedding than the actual marriage. They just want to get married and join the moving train. They don't
ask any girl if she could have the man of her dreams, but she'd have to get rid of her social media, would you? Every single one of them would say no or make an excuse. They're beyond hypocritical. Most of these women don't even deserve the average man. It's really funny because now they're upset over a few chads ghosting them. And all the while they're ghosting thousands and thousands of otherwise great guys who might not have one or two things these women don't want. Women say being married makes them miserable. Then they say being single makes them miserable. Then they say men approaching them makes them miserable. And finally, men not approaching them makes them miserable. I think everyone should just stop taking them seriously, ignore them completely, and they'll auto-correct themselves. I think all men will agree to this one way or another. Women leave no room for love. This is just survival and lust. Your personality, your virtues, what makes you unique, absolutely does not matter or is an afterthought to females. Men, you aren't missing much. These encounters are shallow, and the only reward is the intimacy. They only see you for your money, attention, and bedtime you can give them. There is no room for love. The fact is that women just cannot even stand the thought of being passed over and ignored. Even if it was a guy, they would never give a remote chance to. They would be completely happy for that man to be stuck in the USA with zero chances at finding a good wife than to see him go overseas and nope out of all women in the USA. The fact that those men say no or ignore them just drives those women crazy. Because most guys close their eyes and swipe to the right to maximize the number of women they may choose from, guys are once again successfully showering women with attention. For the majority of guys, ugly and unattractive women will likewise swipe to the right, particularly if they are a 3, a 4, or below. I recently read an article that suggested most males flip to the right for every single woman they see. I decided to test this theory by doing the same on Tinder to see what kind of outcomes I would receive. And sure enough, I received responses from some of the chubbiest, least beautiful women I had ever seen. If I compare this to my previous strategy where I only swiped right the women that I found extremely attractive, I only received 3 or 4 matches, and I remember swiping at least 50 women. So that's the typical match ratio that guys usually have, but if they swipe right every woman they see, then they have more options to choose from. It's the opposite with women. They just post their profile, sit back, relax, and let the swipes massage their egos individually. It's important to understand that women don't respond to your overall profile in online dating. They'll respond if you tick all the boxes they have for the sort of guys they're seeking, which is the 1%. For example, they'll swipe right if you're a certain height, if you're dressed like you know how to, and if you show that you're well-read and well-traveled. They'll only respond if you fit into the exact frame that they have imagined for the perfect guy. Also, I can imagine that women who are obese, who don't know how to dress or are just not interested, are in their mid to late 30s, and probably swipe right on every man as well. They're at the bottom of the female intimacy marketplace. If they're still not successful, they then shift to other dating sites only reserved for digitally alienated people who have no chance of finding someone on other dating sites. Women usually have short descriptions on their profiles and tend to have the same information across their social media and dating profile presence. Descriptions that include typical things such as their love for pets and a repulsion for men who only want one-night stands. Ironically though, If these women met an attractive guy who checks all of their boxes, they'd be more than willing to have one-night stands with him. They would forego all of their so-called principles and lose their ethics to have a chance at a hot fling with someone who they think is hot. And if by chance that attractive man doesn't sleep with them in the first few dates, they'll start thinking of him differently, because they would have already made up their minds about him and only want him for a fling. Attention and validation play a huge role in women's lives. Well, they play a huge role in men's lives as well. The only difference is that women are the ones who always expect and receive it, while men are always the ones to give it to them. Men have realized that finding a good woman is like looking for a needle in a haystack. They have realized that women are hypergamous, hypocritical, and cannot be trusted in long-term commitment. They have realized the juice is not worth the squeeze, with modern women who have experienced all sorts of simps chasing them relentlessly over social media for so many years. Facing a new breed of men who don't reply to their messages is an alarming situation. It's alarming because these guys don't care for women and to conform to women's expectations. They're busy building their lives and don't want to give free attention, validation, and ego massages to modern women who are used to receiving them. Times have changed. More and more men are going their own way. More women will need to realize that men's lives are not meant to revolve around women and act as their slaves and resource providers. Women wanted equality. They're starting to get it. They should also get used to it. Modern women are now upset that the top 1% of men ignore them. The 1% of men includes the alphas and the sigmas, the high-value men who are focused, determined, and driven to excel in the game of life, don't have time to approach these women back or entertain their questions. Such a shame. Why are these women being ignored? Don't the top 1% of guys know they were literally born to serve these modern women? At least, that's what the women believe. Let's face it, a large number of men have given up on Western women and are now looking overseas because they are tired of being blamed for a Western woman's poor choices. On the other hand, rejecting the 99.9% of men gives women a huge ego boost and reaffirms that they are women with options and of the highest class. Rejecting so many men keeps inflating the illusion of a princess and the most desirable woman. The more they reject, the more they reassure themselves that they deserve the best of the best. Thanks for watching The Circle of Kings. As always, we're looking forward to your support. So please hit the like button, share this video with your friends, and subscribe to the channel to stay updated with everything all kings like yourself need to know.